Chapter 14. Veiled Finances. So, we decided to give marriage counseling a try. I found a pastor and his wife who agreed to counsel us. Our sessions were scheduled on Zoom every other week, specifically on alternate Tuesdays. Initially, Legion seemed willing to participate, showing openness through his body language. However, the pastor and his wife were deeply concerned because, despite being married for only 3 months, we were already facing issues of infidelity. They noticed a lack of intimacy, which rightfully worried them, considering the short time we had been married. Our counseling journey with the pastor and his wife began in the spring and continued until just a week before I discovered something that led to Legion leaving. Early on, the pastor addressed the issue of Legion's interactions on Facebook Messenger. Legion admitted it was a mistake driven by a desire for attention, but he seemed reluctant to apologize repeatedly. He felt he had already expressed remorse and wanted to move forward without dwelling on the past. This attitude surprised the pastor and his wife, who couldn't believe his audacity. Despite this rocky start, we tried to move forward slowly. However, doubts lingered in my mind, much like the uncertainty surrounding a black Dodge Charger. I began to see Legion's true colors and how he operated. Shortly after our counseling began, Legion suggested opening a joint bank account for shared expenses. Until then, he had been responsible for rent and utilities, while I covered my own expenses. His suggestion highlighted the shift in our relationship dynamics now that we were married. Let me share a tale about the day we considered opening a joint account. At first, the idea didn't exactly thrill me, but I figured it wouldn't hurt, since I'd still have my own savings intact. So, I proposed we take a peek at each other's financial situation to get a clearer picture. He agreed, and we began by examining his checking account, which boasted a balance just over $9,600. Then, it was my turn. I logged into my savings account and displayed my modest balance. Next, he showed me his Chase savings, which held around $15,000. However, I knew he also had savings in a U.S. bank and offshore, so I asked to see those too. Surprisingly, he refused, causing tension between us. Despite his insistence that those accounts held significant funds for our future home, he wouldn't budge. This disagreement lingered, even spilling into our marriage counseling sessions. I couldn't understand why he wouldn't show me these accounts, especially when we were considering such big life decisions together. I'd never doubted his intentions before, especially after witnessing him commit to a substantial all-cash offer on a house. It just didn't make sense to me why he'd be so hesitant to be transparent about his finances. Let me take you back to those moments in the playlist where I recounted what happened when we were on the hunt for a new home. So, there's this guy we knew from church. Let's call him Legion for now. Well, that's not his real name, just a nickname. Legion had this strange habit of keeping his financial matters secret from his wife. I mean, why wouldn't you share such things with your spouse, right? It's puzzling. Anyway, when he was confronted about it, he tried to cover it up with some made-up excuses. I remember our pastor's wife sensing that something wasn't right. She could feel it in the air. Legion then got defensive and refused to open up about his earnings, going on about how hard he had worked for his money, like he was auditioning for a Denzel Washington movie. Then he started bringing up his ex-wife and how she had tried to get money out of him during their divorce in California. That really raised some eyebrows, especially for our pastor and his wife. In fact, our pastor's wife even predicted that things wouldn't last long, saying she didn't think we'd make it to January, meaning she didn't think our marriage would even last a year. But I was optimistic, thinking, of course, we'll make it. Yet, Legion kept getting more defensive, crossing his arms during our Zoom call, refusing to feel attacked for keeping his finances private. He played the victim card, saying he wasn't comfortable revealing his money matters because, money changes people. Despite their concerns, our pastor and his wife assured us they'd support us as much as possible. However, they also acknowledged that there were deep-seated issues at play. They even admitted that if we had sought premarital counseling from them, they would have advised against us getting married at all. But here we were, married and facing these challenges together. The pastor's wife couldn't shake off her uneasy feeling that our marriage might not last a year.